Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So initially I wanted to make this video outside, get out of the garage a little bit, go for a drive. But unfortunately, the day I planned to actually make this video, it is actually pouring rain outside. And I don't want to hang out outside in the rain while doing this video. So we're going to do it in the garage where there's nice lighting and we're able to have a little discussion. And what that discussion actually is, it's a question that I get very, very often. Are there any modifications that you have done to your STI that you regret doing? And for me personally, there's nothing that I regret doing simply due to the fact that I did everything that I personally wanted to do to my own car. And I never just did something just to do it. I always got parts that I've always wanted and kind of built off of there. And now I'm going on, a little over 5 years with this car, and I'm really pleased with how it's sitting currently. Now, I understand that these cars, a WRX or STI, they are fantastic daily drivers. It's a great car, all-around car. It's all-wheel drive, 4 doors. You can drive around friends and family and everything like that. It's very, very versatile. It's a great car as a daily driver. And being car enthusiasts, people always want to do something. They always want to modify, especially with all social media and YouTube videos. People always want to do something because they see somebody else doing it. So what I'm going to do in this video is actually go over 7 different modifications that you should not do to your daily driver. Now, these 7 modifications are just me personally based on experience, what I think actually ruins the overall drivability and overall experience as a daily driver. I've been through all of these before, or most of them, I should say. And overall, anytime that I did any of these modifications, it made me not want to drive the car. It made me appreciate it less. It took away from the overall drivability for me. And I wanted to guide you guys in the right direction if you're looking to modify your car, your daily driver at that, but to stay away from these 7 specific modifications. Now, the first modification that you should not do to your daily driver are fixed back racing seats. Now, I understand these are not fixed back seats. These are the reclinable version. I'll go over in a little bit as to why these are great, but fixed back seats in general are an absolute nightmare if you are daily driving your car. I did it in my E46 M3 when I had it. It was fun for about a week. And then after that, absolutely hated driving the car. Now, the reason why fixed back seats are just very, very uncomfortable for everyday type of driving is simply because you're not able to adjust the back. They call it fixed back seats because you literally cannot move them. They're positioned in a way to hold you into the car. It's made for track driving. It's made for racing. It's made to keep you in the same position while you are driving the car hard. While it seems like a good idea to put them in your daily driver, it looks cool, you feel cool, the overall driving experience is fun. But if you're driving like 70 miles a day, I can assure you it is not the most fun experience. You get back pains and just the overall feel of the car. You feel every single bump, mainly because it is bolted directly to a bracket. There's no cushioning really, and it just gets really, really uncomfortable. As I mentioned, I did them in my E46 M3. I did Race Tech race seats. They were awesome. I loved them. But after about a week of driving it, I was like, oh my God, I made a terrible mistake. This is terrible. They're cool, they're fun, but it just was not for me. Now, keep in mind, when I did those fixed back racing seats in my M3, I was in my mid-20s, so I was young, I was agile, I was in fantastic shape. It wasn't anything because I was too old or anything like that. It was just an uncomfortable feeling driving the car every day. The overall feeling and driving the car was just very uncomfortable. You felt every single thing in the road. You were bouncing all over the place. Granted, they held you extremely well. It just wasn't suitable for daily driving. Even though that I was able to actually angle the seats back a little bit to help with any back issues and to kind of sit a little bit more comfortably, it still just was not enough to warrant keeping them. I ended up selling them off and going back to stock seats. Now, if you guys don't know, these are the Recaro Sportster GT seats. These things are fantastic for a daily driver. They're actually reclinable, which is a huge, huge selling point for these seats. Obviously that's not the reclining feature, but you can see it moves. It's not a fixed back seat. They're extremely comfortable. They fit my body type very, very well. I'm a 32-inch waist and you sit way lower than the stock seats. So overall, if you're looking to upgrade to aftermarket seats in your WRX or STI, I definitely recommend going with something that is adjustable in terms of the backing. The second modification that you should not do to your daily driver that you drive on the street is any type of roll cage, rear cage, half cage, full cage, whatever, and also harnesses as well. This is kind of a 2-for-1. And the main reason for that is because putting any type of roll cage or harness bar or anything in the car that is going to actually disrupt the overall integrity of the car. If you were to get in an accident on the street, you can be in some serious trouble. Not only could you get severely hurt, even more so than if you didn't have it. Also for insurance purposes, if they see that something was put in the car and you got in an accident and it's not supposed to be there, that can really severely hurt you overall with the insurance claim. Now, the second part of that modification that I mentioned is harnesses. I cannot stand when people wear harnesses on the street. It is probably one of the most unsafe things to possibly do to a daily driver or any car that you drive on the street. Yes, harnesses are meant to keep you in place. There is no question that they do that job very well. But the reason why they are so dangerous is because of that reason alone. If you were to get in an accident, you will not move. Your neck will move forward and you will severely hurt yourself. Reason why they are safe to use on the track is because you're wearing a Hans device, or at least you should. You're wearing the proper safety equipment, helmet, and all that. So if you were to get in an accident, you would not hurt your neck and you're properly secured. But on the street, you should not put racing harnesses in your seats, in your car, or anything. As you can see, the harness holes are here if I were to ever need them. But I would never in my life ever put them in a street car. It is just not the safest thing to do. Now, the third modification that you should not do to your daily driver that you drive on the street is a quick release steering wheel. I cannot stand when I see people change out the steering wheels to something that you should only use on the track. Removing the airbag is probably one of the silliest things I have ever seen. I get it. They feel great. It's a smaller diameter. They look cool. When you park, you can take them off. You can do that whole thing. But honestly, in a street car, it is just not the thing to do. Again, that kind of rolls back to the one I just mentioned about the harnesses and the roll cage. For insurance purposes, geez, if you got in an accident and got severely hurt, and then they realize that you removed the airbag in the steering wheel, you're on your own there. That is something that you obviously removed, and you will be probably SOL in that situation. If you're on the track, if it's a weekend car or something like that, and you don't really drive it that much, I can understand that, a little bit more. But if you're driving the car, again, you're driving down the highway, you're commuting, you're driving to work and everything like that, it is just not the best thing to do. So I highly advise not putting a quick release or racing type of track wheel into your daily driver. The fourth modification that you should not do to your daily driver is some type of really loud, droney, Catless exhaust. I'm telling you, I've done it before. It sounds cool. It is a lot of fun for a little bit. Then overall, when you're driving clients, you're driving friends or family, it gets obnoxious. It gets really tiresome, and you just don't want to do that. It just completely ruins the overall experience. You want something a little bit more tame, something that is not going to be as noticeable, something that you can live with every day. Trust me, I am a really big fan of very loud exhausts. Insert Tomei with equal length headers. Trust me, my car is extremely loud, but keep in mind this is not a daily driver, and I always preferred a little bit louder exhaust overall. But even so, I'm telling you, going catless and doing a really loud droney exhaust, it gets tiring, and it's just, it's cool at first, as I mentioned, but once the honeymoon phase kind of phases out, I guarantee you're going to want to change it up to something quieter. So I highly advise going with the loudest setup out there. The fifth modification that you should not do to your street-driven daily car is really stiff suspension. I get the whole fact of lowering your car and you want it to look great, but I'm telling you, putting a really stiff spring rate or suspension in general into your daily driver, that is something that gets old very quickly. For me, when I got this car, it was intended to be a daily driver. It was for the last 5 years. But as you guys know, recently retired, kind of daily driver. I got something else. So this is a garage queen. But even so, I went with Fortune auto coilovers and I actually bumped it down a spring rate to kind of compensate for the daily drivability. I went to 7K Swift Springs. 100% would do it all over again, even though that is not my daily driver. It is so comfortable. Yes, it is still firm in the twisties and it still drives very nicely. But is a little bit more tolerable when you're just kind of doing everyday things. Trust me, I've been down the road of doing really stiff suspension and really stiff spring rates. it's not fun. It gets tiring really quickly. You know, your back hurts and it's not fun. So I definitely recommend going with a little bit, softer spring rate if you do have the option. But going to something really, really stiff and really, really firm that is meant for racing or track use, that I definitely would highly recommend not doing that. The sixth modification that you should not do to your daily driver are any type of aggressive track pad that is meant for heat, something that you use for racing, something you use on the track. And the reason for that is because those kind of track pads, those kind of brake pads are actually meant to heat up. You know, when you get in the car in a daily driver, you just get in and go. You're not going to be able to get the proper amount of heat into those pads for them to be used right away. So God forbid if you were in a situation 5 minutes into your drive to work, those brake pads are not going to bite how they should, and it can potentially put you in a really bad situation. I get the fact that you want some really, really nice brake pads and you kind of thinking you're upgrading, but I highly recommend staying away from the racing, track type of brake pad. It is just not the route to go, especially if you live in a colder type of climate. They're just not going to get heat cycled properly, and you're going to find yourself in a really, really bad situation. So last but not least, the seventh modification that I recommend not doing to your daily driver. I did it before, and I don't think I would ever do it again, and that is a vented hood. You guys know I ran the VIS Racing V2 carbon fiber hood. It looked fantastic. It did have the rain guards in there and everything, but it was a pain in the butt. Anytime that it was raining, I had to make sure the rain guards were in. If I was washing the car, I had to make sure they were in. Obviously, I preferred running them without the rain guards just because of, it would help with any of the heating in the engine bay and everything like that. But overall, in your daily driver, you just want to get in and go. You don't want anything to be a big inconvenience, and having, giant vents into your hood that's just going to pour dirty, crappy, disgusting water into your engine bay. For me, being so detail oriented and wanting to keep my engine bay and the entire car as clean as possible, it was just something that just bothered me so much. And I don't think I would ever do a vented hood again. While it does look cool, it just wasn't for me, and I prefer the OEM style hood. Yes, I understand that the hood scoop, some water does get in there, but I assure you, if you guys saw just how wet the engine bay got, even with the rain guards in when I had the carbon vented hood, it was just a nightmare. I was constantly cleaning it up, and I can only imagine driving it every single day, what the engine bay would look like. I guarantee you it's not something that I want to deal with. So I'm glad I got to experience it, but as a daily driver, I definitely would not do any type of vented hood. Those are my 7 modifications that I would stay away from if you drive your WRX or STI or any car for that matter, if it is actually your daily driver. Staying away from those things will allow you to enjoy the car way more. I understand the want and the desire to actually do those things that I named, just because a lot of people are doing them on social media and it looks cool and it looks like it's going to be a good time. But I assure you, there's definitely better modifications that you can do for your daily driver where you can put that money elsewhere that's actually going to enhance the overall driving experience for a daily driver and not take away from it. So if you guys have any questions at all about the 7 modifications that I named, or you have any more questions or any other modifications that you think may inhibit your daily driver and make it worse, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear it. Those are the 7 that I would come up with. Again, those are based off experience, and I just wanted to share them with you guys to point you in the right direction so you don't make the same mistake that I did, and you guys can build your daily driven WRX or STI or any car in the right way and not take away from the overall experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, any questions at all, ask them in the comments below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.